Good evening and welcome to what I would call a fantastic Friday. Hope I'm finding you all well. This is Leicester Delight. I'll put my teeth in and try that again. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. You'd think I'd be able to say that right, wouldn't you? And we've got a special on tonight, a little extra programme that we've put in. So there's two programmes tonight. We've still got the opposition view later. But tonight, on this special one, it's a Europa League special. Great Friday, fantastic Friday. Like I say, we've signed Wesley Fofana, and I think it's a bit late for this weekend, but you never know. But of course, the main news is the Europa League draw. What do you think about it? Let us know. We want to hear your comments. Are you pleased with it? We seem to have not got a bad draw. In fact, to be honest with you, I probably couldn't have picked a better draw myself. Pretty much the same as for the Champions League a few years ago. We've got Braga from Portugal. We nearly had Napoli, but we got moved mid draw, which confused me totally. And we've got AEK Athens, and we've got here we go now, Zorya Luhansk from the Ukraine. Good evening, Matthew. Thanks for joining us there. Hope you're well, mate. I won't go quite this far. Somebody's just said a walk in the park. Let's ask my erstwhile colleague, Brad. Well, let's get him in. Good evening, Brad.
Good evening, Chris.
Would you call that a walk in the park group?
I'd say it's on par with the standard of teams we had when we went into the Champions League. I would imagine us beating them sort of sides at home and then getting enough to top that group. I don't think it's by any means a walk in the park. I mean, it's still our first venture into it. Whatever fans think, I know we did the Champions League, but we've seen hiccups. But yeah, you couldn't have asked, like you said, you couldn't have asked for a better starting group.
No. Evening, Dale, and evening. That one there is Rob. Good evening, happy Friday, Andy. I was looking at who we could have done. There's some strong teams in there. Like I say, I did get confused with the Napoli. We spoke offline just before we started because we did start, I'm sure, in a group with Napoli, and I was trying to quickly keep up on the website, filling in my website, and suddenly we were saying we're with Braga. Napoli, I think, would have been harder, but we are actually. There's a poll going on. I don't know if you've seen it all. I put it up in the Facebook group. And there's so far, I think, just been just short of 22,000 votes, and 86% of voting Leicester to win the group. Like I said, I don't want to count my chickens or anything, but it's looking positive.
Yeah, of course, it's looking positive. It was maybe a bit of karma, but it was quite nice to see Celtic get the absolute group of death. I would not. I mean, as much as a blockbuster day would have been. I mean, we don't know what's going on with the world at the moment, but AC Milan in front at the King Power, maybe with a packed stadium, it would be a different story. But with given everything at the moment, I don't think you want to be taken on a side like that, no matter how they have slipped down the European pole, so to speak. I know they're not the side they used to be, but they're still a hell of a side.
They are and they're not. Well, they are and they're not, if that makes sense. I was watching last night. They were the last team to actually qualify last night. I think they qualified something like 10:30, 11:15, because it went to penalties. They were actually losing 2-1, and I think they got a penalty, Milan, in sort of like 2 minutes after the end of extra time, and then it went 9-8 on penalties. So they came quite close to going out. I would have liked Celtic, I've got to be honest with you, just to sort of stuff it to them, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we can only I'd rather just concentrate on us now to seeing the draw. I mean, it's a difficult competition. You see teams get knocked out. I know West Ham over the last few years, recently, they had some shock exits. There's been shock exits all around. And the fact that Manchester United are the only, I believe, I could be wrong here, someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the only English side to win that competition.
Possibly,
Well,
yeah.
at least since it's been the Europa
Since it's
League.
been the Euro, I think it's since it's been the Europa, possibly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm probably wrong with the UEFA Cup sort of thing,
Yeah.
but the Europa League, it's only, Liverpool have been knocked out of it, Spurs have been knocked out of it, Wolves got knocked out of it by a certain team that only we seem to be able to beat.
Mm.
You know, but yeah, there's always a good chance of winning it. We avoided a harder group, but this time maybe because it's not the Champions League, it's Europa League, and maybe because of what we did when we was in the Champions League and the squad we had then compared to what we have now, there's more of an expectancy on Leicester to win the group.
Yeah.
Braga aren't having the best of seasons. They lost a big game to their rivals Porto and lost the first game 1-0. So they're not always having the best of starts, but on a European night, a one-off game against them. It's not like we're playing them 7 or 8 times,
No.
or
Da-
have a record against them.
Dale's just come in there and possibly right here saying Chelsea did. But I just want to
Yeah,
go back
sorry. Yeah, they
to
beat Arsenal, didn't they? Sorry. Yeah. Oh,
just to a point here that Andy brought up. I just want to bring it up again. I did show it. I'm wondering if we'll be allowed to travel to any of the away legs. Now, I actually thought it was more recent than this, but going back to August, and it was reports on quite a few of the big newspaper sites that if you're banned from travelling by your government, that UEFA would throw you out the Champions League and the Europa League.
no, I don't
Have you
know.
not heard that? No?
I wouldn't. I tend to stay away from that side of it just because I'm just not educated enough to know all like the laws and bylaws and stuff like that and everything that goes on. So I'm just reading the headlines and going, okay, if you say so, I'm guessing we won't be doing that then. Look,
I mean,
I've
sorry,
already seen a
Brad. I'm just going to
report.
say,
Sorry.
I'm just going to read. I'm just going to sort of read it out because,
Go on.
this was the Daily Mail, but it was in quite a few of the non-red tops, so it wasn't sort of the Sun shit stirring or anything. But Premier League clubs face being thrown out of Champions League and Europa League next season if the British government changes travel rules as UEFA reveal measures to combat coronavirus pandemic. Now, I haven't seen anything since August. That was August this year. But I mean, you've got to keep it at the back of your mind. The threat's always there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I saw a report about 10 minutes before we came and spoke off stream. Said apparently they're looking into making all ties, or it was either said all or away ties. I only glanced at it, literally just saying that they're going to allow a capacity of 30%. Well, you're not making this any easier for people to know exactly what 100% the exact state of the world's in because we're going back into lockdown, but then we're not. Then we are, but then we can still do this and that.
Yeah, I think
It's such a delicate thing to discuss and to kind of pinpoint between us, mate. Especially when, like you say, we don't know all the ins and outs. If we do get it, it's great. But if not, I mean, there's already some report that apparently the Ukraine team that we've got, who I don't know anything about, so I'm just going off of headlines here. Again, this is why I try not to learn. Well, not learn, but not read anything. Apparently, they won't be playing. We won't be playing them in their home stadium because of a war.
Yeah, I mean, going back first of all, taking you up on the COVID bit. Yes, the main problem you've got that every country has different laws. So, we don't know that by the time we come to play them, which is going to be over a period of time, we might be allowed to go to some countries, or some countries might allow fans in, and other countries don't. So it literally, I think, will have to be taken on a game by game basis. I certainly have also, I must admit, I have also heard that about the Ukraine, and of course, when they were doing the draw, they made the point that whilst no teams from the same country could be in the same group, they were also keeping the Russian and the Ukraine teams apart, which is, I think, about as political as I've ever seen. I've ever seen UEFA get. But they did it for the Champions League, and they did it for this as well, definitely keeping them apart.
That's the smartest decision I think I've ever made about Russia and the Ukraine. Keep them apart. Because, again, not to get into it too much. And another thing is, as well, is it just shows where the state of the world is financially and people's take on money without turning this from Leicester City football to Leicester City politics. There's always going to be talk of some possibility of allowing fans or being more lenient when these competitions get maybe in the group stage, because obviously there's a lot of teams that definitely in the knockout stages they'll try and get people back in, because at the end of the day, football first and foremost, unfortunately these days, no matter what we think as fans, it's not about the sport, it's about the money. Some clubs will be desperate, and not to say too much about certain countries, but they'll be desperate to make something extra off this, and if it means letting a few thousand fans fly over and chance it if you want, sort of thing, and get some money off it. Unfortunately, that's the state of football.
I mean, Dale made the point there. Politics don't belong in football. Politics doesn't belong in it. Doesn't belong in sport whatsoever. That said, unfortunately, health does, and it's just something we've got to be sort of wary of. And like I say, I think it will be done looked at as on a game by game basis. The other option is obviously to just make it no fans at all, so it's fair, to everybody. But like you say, we can't control that, so we'll see what happens with that. But looking at the teams that we drew, and we'll start at the bottom one because that's the hardest one to say, so I'll get through that. Somebody said earlier, it does look like a Specsavers eye test. They are, as we said, a Ukrainian team. They're UEFA ranking 106 at the moment, 106. So one of the lower ranking clubs that are in there. They've not actually had brilliant history. 2015-16, good season that was. I don't know why, but it seems to stick in my mind. They did win the Ukrainian Cup. They won the Ukrainian First League way back in 2005-06 and the Ukrainian Second League, our championship, in 2002-03. But they did finish third last year, and they've obviously come through the qualifying, being one of the smaller countries that have had a few games to play there. You can't take any team lightly, can you?
No, because when we've done that before, we've lost. We really have, and that's not just Champions League, or because that never happened. We didn't really play a big team and lose, in a sense. A team that we thought we'd beat and lose. I mean, Porto 5-0 was because we're top of the group already, sort of thing. I think I remember a certain Harvey Barnes might have made his debut in that game. Someone did. I know they did from the youth.
Yes.
Someone from the youth made their debut in that game. But that result aside, we didn't lose to anyone that we weren't supposed to. If we go into them game thinking, oh well, because we don't really know anything of them, and it's only in Ukraine or a lower league, a lower standard of football league, should I say, not a lower league. That's too disrespectful. But it would be wrong of us, and I think if we just go off the only experience we've got, we did take it seriously with the squads we put out. As long as we don't take it too easy, then that's when you lose them games. Yeah, sure, maybe PSV Eindhoven, someone I thought we'd get, or I don't think they're in it this year. The Olympiacos with Arsenal. Was it Olympiacos and Arsenal?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I
think it was. I could be wrong, but if I am wrong, again, apologies. But you can be forgiven if it's a team like that have consistently won in their division, and that's why we've got to be careful with Braga. They've not had a good start so far this season, but they're like second to Porto for no of them.
Yeah, we'll come on to Braga in a second, but just staying with Zorya. It's my own fault. I keep letting myself have to say this. We'll call them that Ukrainian side.
Yeah,
I can remember when Blackburn won the league and they qualified for Europe, because I was living sort of in that area at the time, and they drew a unheard of Norwegian side called, I think it was Rosenborg, who went on to knock them out. So yeah, you've got to be careful. I mean, last year, like I said, in their league they finished third, and now obviously we don't know how. That could be the equivalent of finishing third in our first division here, couldn't it? Third tier. Yeah. But they played 32 games, and the thing that I've noticed is they actually only conceded 29 goals all season.
That's impressive. No matter what league it is, it's impressive to do at whatever level it is. But yeah, there's always what's the one thing we always fear when it comes to probably more predominantly the FA Cup. What's the one thing you always fear in that third round when you get given, you're in the Premier League and you get given Exeter City or Northwich
Newport
Victoria?
County.
Yeah,
Newport
Newport
County. Yeah.
County. I'm trying
Yeah.
to avoid saying them, but
Yeah.
exactly, you don't want the banana skin.
No.
And like I said, the difference between last time and this time isn't just the competition we're in, it's the
Yeah.
expectancy. We didn't have expectancy. Nobody gave us any expectations to me for Champions League. We've got expectations now. Like you said,
Yeah.
85%.
Yeah.
Granted, on a Leicester by more majoritized bias page, but I reckon
Mm.
if you put that out worldwide, I think the Europa League did their own one, and it was still
No,
high.
that was actually
Oh,
on
it,
the
oh,
UEFA's
it
own
was. It was
website.
fair,
Yeah,
fair.
but I think there may well have been more people on the internet in
Yeah,
England than there was in Ukraine, let's say. But
yeah, yeah. But
but
still,
yeah, I mean, I can remember as well. Even when you get to the quarterfinals, and I think there's one lower league division side still in it, a certain Wycombe Wanderers, and I remember saying, wouldn't it be brilliant to draw Wycombe Wanderers at home? And we got to Wycombe Wanderers at home. The rest, as they say, is history, and we won't go
yeah,
there. We won't
no,
go
we
there.
won't.
Dale says there, no easy game. That's the mentality the players need, and I
Yeah,
think that's the mentality that Rodgers will install in them. Somebody said here, I can't remember what he was replying to, but they haven't met Mr. Vardy yet. I guess that was to the only conceding 29 goals. That said,
well, yeah,
on the other stream, they only scored 50.
well, yeah, but
You know,
your attack is as good as your defense, and you'll do well, won't you?
yeah. So moving on then to the third team in the group, AEK Athens. They are ranked 83 by UEFA, and their manager is now. Then I've written this down in Massimo Carrera. He used to be, and I do check these notes by the way. I haven't got all this knowledge in my head, but he was for a time the manager of Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, yeah,
Back in 17-18, I think it was. So he's going to have an idea about the English leagues. Not obviously great knowledge, but every little helps, as Tesco say.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like any opposition. They're no doubt gonna have. I think it's fair to say, especially since we did the 5,000 to 1 season title and our brand as and team name got spread a lot more around the globe, that the teams like Braga and and Athens and Zara or the Ukraine side we've got will know a lot more about us than we will about them after evening Justin. And I think that's something that they won't have to do too much research, whereas we might have to go out and see how they play by sending scouts. They will probably take a lot of pride of going on YouTube, finding videos and doing it that way. It'd be so much,
I
with
think
the climate,
I
whereas
think a lot of
following
these
Braga games would be difficult.
I think a lot of these teams will be watching the English teams anyway on the Premier League every week. So like you say, they'll have a better knowledge of us than we will have of them. I mean, they've won what they call their Super League, which is their Greek top division, 12 times. But the last time was a few years ago, 17-18. But again, I mean, as I say, as we said before, no easy game. But again, I'm pleased. And let's have a look at Braga, because we nearly ended up with Napoli. We managed to avoid them because of this coefficiency and not meeting certain teams thing. And Braga are actually UEFA ranking 52. Now, just to put that into perspective, that they were in Pot A, our UEFA ranking is 41.
Right. Okay, I'm with you.
And I'm guessing it's because they have been in Europe more than we have.
Yeah, yeah, it is that. It's
That
good.
is
It is
purely
that.
it. Yeah.
And you've got to remember our first couple of visits were one game eliminations to a certain side,
Mm.
Atletico Madrid and Red Star Belgrade. It's purely done on competition and points there.
Yeah.
I don't even think if it had been, if we'd have been living another Champions League draw in a Europa League draw, if we'd have drawn Braga out and say the Champions League and they'd been in that themselves respectively, they would have probably been in a better pot than us anyway on that basis as well. It wouldn't have mattered where we qualified or what competition either.
Yeah. In their heads, they'll give themselves no chance. We're top of the Premier League. Let's hope. Let's hope we still are when we play our first game there, Matthew. And just going back, good evening, as you said there to Justin. Braga, you can see they are, obviously the best. Well, on past history, the best the team in the group. Just looking here, in the past 6 years, they've always finished top 5 in their league. And last season, they finished third. They were their League Cup winners, which is possibly how they qualified.
Yeah, again, and like you say, it doesn't matter. You can't compare. Well, you can obviously. We have made the comparison today of you don't know where that sits in the ranking of how that would, filter out into the English leagues, but at the end of the day, we by the sounds of things, we've drawn 3 teams that in their home country, they would say, oh, well, we've got the Ukrainian, we've got the Portuguese, we've got the Greek version of Man City or a Chelsea, etc. Because that's what they're doing in their league. It's their league's version of it. They've got their own version of it. I'm not saying finances, but I'm talking as in consistent winning and, trophy cabinets. They're on par with them, like Liverpool, Manchester United for titles, etc. So their fans will be coming over with confidence. Because they just don't care. Not in like they'll be violent or anything if they're able to come over. Because we've had great fans in the last competition. What I mean is like they won't care that it's Leicester City doing well in the Premier League. It's we're the ones that can upset you, not you upset us.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
It does. You always do. I'm just going to bring a comment in here from my Tuesday night buddy. Good evening, Craig Bird. Thank you for joining us. We have Arsenal, Leeds, Wolves, and Liverpool around the time of the first 3 Europa League matches. Tough juggling job for Brendan in terms of team selection. Yes, I agree totally there, Craig. Which is, why I think you've got to look at the fact that we've brought these 3 new signings in. As long as we don't get any more bad injuries, I think we shouldn't be too bad with the squad. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be the case. It's always the case of any cup competitions. But I think the clues in the question, in the title, sorry, more than in the question, you treat it exactly like you do the Premier League. It's called the Europa League. It's called, the European competitions are called a league for a reason. So there's going to be a point. Let's just say it's like I said, going back to what we did in Champions League with Porto. We gave someone a debut, a youngster. We had a totally different starting 11 because we'd already qualified in top of the group. Now that all depends on what's going on in the league. If we're, playing Arsenal, he's going to go big for that. I mean, and then if the game after Arsenal is the first Europa League game, he's going to want to make sure that some strong players, given regards to the situation when it comes back, he'll be probably mixing it in and around Ndidi's return, maybe at the back end of it, of the Europa League, so you could get his fitness up at the back end of that, all being well, and then still use Mendy for the league games, provided or Chowdhury, depending on which one of them's really taking that position as their own. And this is why I think it's good in a way that yes, it's been results of injuries through pre-season, and at the start of the season with Pratt, because I still don't know how he is on that. And obviously Johnny Evans' suspension, that it's allowed the likes of Mendy and Amati to get some valuable game time, because that is where it's going to prove dividends for us. That Rodgers might be able to go to Ndidi. Well, I need you for Arsenal. I think we can play Braga without you in the team. Vardy, you can play against Arsenal. I've got Iheanacho, Perez. I'm going to give under arrest. This is your chance to do something, etc. You kind of get the point. We've got a good balance of players to kind of chop and change into that. Managed well and done right, you could end up, like I said, being able to do it so right on the night. It's all how it's done there and then.
Yeah, I mean, you actually brought a point up that I was going to bring up there. I think the Europa League, and because there's obviously going to be so many games, we've still got the FA Cup as well, and we know it's going to be Thursday, Sunday. We know that from past years when other teams have been in it. But it is going to give the likes, I believe, and I think you've just touched on it there, Inacho and Perez, the chance to go up front. And because Vardy's not going to be able to play every game, he's in his mid-30s now, and the European games might suit those players better because we know neither of them can do the Vardy role. We know that. We've seen it. There is only one Vardy that plays like that. They play a different style to him. They may get on better in the European games.
Yeah, and it's no disrespect to Europa League. So I'm going to say this with tongue in cheek because it's not a statement of my own, but it's a comparison I was heard. The Europa League sometimes gets seen as how the Carabao Cup does compared to the FA Cup, and by that I mean the Europa League is obviously a less glamorous competition compared to the Champions League, and that's an unfair statement. There is way stronger teams, bigger budgeted teams, more well-known players in the main consensus. Out that isn't obviously the English teams that make it that we know of, like Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, just to list a few straight off the bat, clear and obvious ones. Um, and the point is that it's kind of like taken that way that a lot of teams tend to use that as a chance to do exactly what I spoke about and what you just said as well, where we'll bring in them players and use them to keep them on track. You probably see Soyuncu will probably play them games, but you might see because of Evans to go with Vardy, you might see him getting dropped for Fafana, the new lad we brought in. That's going to be where he might get his games. You might see the likes of Casper playing. You probably see a strong midfield. But if Pratt's going to be the one, by the looks of things, that's going to miss out for a few games, if with his injury, or if you're only picking between Tillemans and Madison, you're going to leave Pratt on as a sub bench in the league games. When it comes to Europa League, you can give one of them more of a rest. And then obviously there's the fixture list that pile up. If we're doing well in the FA Cup, we're going to need to make sure that players that are fighting to get into the first team are on prime shape. Otherwise, that's where you lose the games.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just going to bring a comment in here from Justin. We did touch on it earlier. Excuse me. How do we stand if one of the European countries we play go into the quarantine list while we're there? Would they have to go into lockdown for 2 weeks? We did say we don't know at this stage, Justin. The last thing we saw in back in August, which was being reported, was that some UEFA may chuck teams out of the competition. What they might do is give them a chance, if other countries are having these bubbles and what have you, might give them the chance to play it at a neutral venue. And I think that would obviously be the first option. So I don't think they'd want to sort of go about chucking teams out. But overall, I'm very happy. I mean, just briefly touching on the other British teams, Arsenal. I don't think they've got too bad a group. Rapid Vienna, Molde, and Dundalk from Ireland. That's not a bad group for Arsenal, is it?
Yeah, I really wanted Dundalk because we'd probably be able to get the ferry across to that. And
Indeed. Rangers have got a tough group. Benfica, Standard Liège, two good teams, and then Lech. I don't know who Lech is, but Rangers, they've got quite a good, not too bad a group.
And Celtic and Rangers out.
Yeah, yeah. Celtic have got Sparta Prague, Milan, like you say, and Losch. So I think they could both be out first round, and wouldn't that be a shame?
No, yeah.
Scottish teams.
Yeah, such a shame.
No, both of us showed what our prediction knowledge was like. We both said it wrong last night, didn't we, when we spoke briefly? Yeah.
Yeah,
the good thing is, at least we can't go out at this early stage to Atletico Madrid. So,
yes, that's true. Yeah, God, sick and tired of them. Although Belgrade are in it this year, aren't they? Red Star Belgrade are actually in this year's Europa League. So
they are, but
maybe
they're
we
not.
can get them in the knockout stages and get them back for our exit against them.
That was a game. I think that was the game with the dodgy ref, wasn't it? When he sent Gary Parker off. Was that Red
Oh
Star?
no, that was against Atletico when we lost the home leg.
Was
He
it
had a
right?
free kick. He blew his whistle. Parker took it. He didn't like it, so we sent him
Yeah,
off.
yeah, and he never refereed another game again.
No, we didn't.
No.
But
But no,
we didn't get any compensation for that. We didn't get any like thing for that. Like no team does in these things. It's like punish
well,
the thing, but
it would
yeah,
be admitting that he was
cheap.
bent basically, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But knowing our luck, Atletico Madrid will have a terrible year in the Champions League. They'll end up third, drop down into the Europa, and we'll get them in the quarters or something.
Yeah, because it's not really a European journey if it doesn't involve Atletico, is it really?
No, it's got. I'm quite missing them already. It's like it's like your parents being split up and not being able to see one of your parents.
Yeah. Although, if I'm right in thinking the new rules, they're sticking to what happened at the end of this season. Once it gets to the knockout, I thought it changed to just being it's just one leg, isn't it? It's just do or die on that night, I
I
believe.
think
So maybe we
any
can beat
knockout.
Atletico on one game.
Yeah, yeah. This is the trouble. We should only ever play them in one game, But no. So overall thoughts, happy.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't not be happy with a group of that standard to be drawn out against. It's just I think like I said, we'll win our first three home. Well, we'll win our home games, and then if we can avoid a banana skin away from home, I can't see why we don't top that group. But each team has to be taken both times with respect.
Yeah.
Yes,
Justin,
he was, but he won't
you're at the
tell you.
bar. You're at the bar. Where are you exactly? If you're at the bar, I mean, we're sat here with coffees and what have you. You sound like you've got something very alcoholic and very nice.
There's only 5 other people with him.
Unless you called Jeremy Corbyn, yes, it is. But then we're going back to politics, aren't we?
Well, yeah.
I see, and I can't pronounce his surname, but I see Under's got a squad number now. So quickly moving on.
Yeah, let's get into that.
He may get a few minutes on Sunday.
I'd start him.
Really? Yeah.
Well, Perez got dropped for a formation, so it's not like he was involved in a team. Well, he was involved, but he didn't get on the pitch to play in a team that just put 5 past Man City. That to me was a sign that, right, if I'm going to drop anybody right now to make it a strong midfield or a back line and sacrifice a wide player, it's going to be Perez. So what's the point in making this, pushing it through and getting him in training? Because he's trained today.
Yeah.
The game's not till, I don't know if he trained yesterday. That would be the only reason. I can imagine, because Castagna did 3 sessions.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Castagna did 3 sessions, so there's no reason, if he's not done a good workout and he's been keeping himself fit and he's been sharp and doing pre-season before he moved to us, that he can't get in the team on Sunday and get in that starting 11. Assuming we're going to go that way about attacking West Ham.
Yeah, I think it can be too early for Fofana.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Obviously, but I think injury-wise, I don't think any of the injuries were that bad from the other day. I think most of them are on the way back.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, if Pratt's not injured, because I assume he's not, because I've not heard anything. I mean, I could be wrong, but I heard there was a fright about a twisted knee at the start, but I haven't seen a report saying Pratt out for X amount of weeks, twisted knee. I saw that was the early days. So if he's back fit, I'll ask the question to you, Chris, because you're normally the one that asks me the question. Would Madison get back into that team? Or would you go with the starting?
I would always, and I've always said this, and I will not change my mind from this. I think when you've got a team, I mean, okay, you've obviously got the formation may change, but obviously, the actual players may stay the same. But no, I think when you've got a winning team, no player, no matter who he is, should come back in just because of who they are and just because they're fit again. It's the same if a player gets suspended for being sent off. and somebody comes in and does a fantastic job, I think it sends the message out to the player that's coming back in that he doesn't have to try too hard to get in the team, and B, it sends completely the wrong message to that player or those players that have come in to replace the ones that are out. So no, I wouldn't bring Maddison straight back in, and I think bring him back on. By all means, it depends what he's got. Obviously tactical wise, but for me, no, you always stick with the winning team.
Yeah, that was my thing. I mean, you pretty much probably touched upon what I've been saying about it when we've spoke about it before. But I'm glad that I'd hope that's the main consensus of both of us, because it'd be the same. It'd be the same for anybody in that position. Who you can't tell me if you was Pratt and you're fit and raring to go for 100% fully fit and been training most of the week, and you're off the back of them performances and you get told you dropped. I wouldn't like to be him. Case
No.
I'd feel a bit gutted. I'd be more than gutted. Not
And
just because it's a team that I love, but it's like, oh, well, that was fun in a sense in the long run.
Yeah, and I think as well with Pratt, he's always, since he started, he's always found it hard to hold down a starting place. He's only ever come on as a sub, and I think now that he's had 3 starts, to knock him back into that, you're going back to being a sub again. And I think, like you say, I think it would sort of piss him off,
Yeah, and we've got to remember, Pratt's probably got away with it a bit, but he was kind of in the Mendy and Amati situation, not to the extreme of the length of injury, but every time he just seemed to start stepping in and was getting more and more minutes and then getting a start, he'd get a 2 to 4 week injury. So I haven't heard anything to suggest that it is more than a knock that he picked up against Man City like the rest of them. So fingers crossed he can stay fit and he keeps the position while he's doing well.
I missed the conference, but just sort of caught the highlights on Sky, the press conference from Brendan Rodgers, and there was nothing coming up about major injuries or anything like that. So,
no.
I mean, Jake here. Good evening, Jake. Jake Richardson says, "What about Pierre?" Well, I wasn't including him because obviously he's on long-term illness anyway. What have we got here? Yuri Pratt and that Castagna seem to be a killer combo at the minute, yet they certainly do. And that's the other thing as well.
Belgian Brigade.
Yeah, you're taking one player out there, and I mean, he came on, he scored a wonder goal, did Maddison, and there is the argument to put him back in. But as Dale says there, those 3 are developing an understanding.
Yeah.
And I love Maddison to bits, and he is one of our best players. But no, stick with what's, as the old saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, very true. I agree, and I'd reckon to a point, and obviously it'd be probably more understandable. But I made a point to my mate when he was kind of trying to get the praises of Mendy stretched out a bit in one of his posts that he shared, and I said to him, if you'd have put that side by side, his turn. His little outside of the foot flip turn, and I think it was Rodri, on a side by side behind him and Ndidi, and said spot the difference. I wouldn't be able to tell you. So that you could argue that, let's say in a couple of more weeks there was a quicker recovery for Ndidi. I know it's 12 weeks, but let's just say because sometimes it happens. I'm just hypothetically, he came back a bit earlier than expected. But Mendy was still on red hot form like he has been. You wouldn't then all of a sudden, and it's something I never thought I'd say, but you wouldn't be turning around saying, well, now indeed he's back, off you pop Mendy, thanks for them 10 games, if he was at that standard.
Yeah, like I say, I always would keep the winning team. If there's a reason you want to change it for tactical purposes, that would be a reason. But we saw, Pratt and Tielemans in the different formation that he's done this year with the Burnley and the Man City game. He's kept them both, and I think you've got to stick with them. I really do. Just to bring up Dale there, he said, "Can't wait for your 5-0 at the weekend, Brad."
Yeah, it's all right. It's only dependent on a Declan Rice red card, so We're well aware. If you see that happening, you know you should have done it.
Yeah, and you're going to sing again.
Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah.
I did say that.
Mark Gatwood, good evening, Mark. Mendy hasn't put a foot wrong this season, and Marty's also done really well. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
I'm almost saying, like, I've got to pinch myself. It's, it's all, yes, we've got, indeed he's been the one blocked, but we're not doing too bad. The players that are coming back are performing well for us. We've got a good draw in the Europa League. Hey, the treble's on.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take the treble.
I'll go on better than your 5-0 at the weekend. I'll go for winning the treble. And you heard it here first, right? Yeah, I'm going to say thank you, Brad, because I've got another podcast coming up in a bit.
Yeah, you'll have nothing left for Sunday for a video, will you, mate? This race.
On Sunday we'll be discussing another big Leicester win.
Yeah, well, I would say I'd come on and give you my prediction video, but you already know it, so.
Yeah, this is it. A big 5-0. Like I say, I'm not going to say I'll buy you a drink because I owe you enough already. But thanks very much, Brad. All the best, mate.
Thank you.
I'll see you on post-match on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll see you Sunday, mate.
Cheers. So thanks a lot for joining us. I'm going to be back in an hour and a quarter, 7:30. I'll be back on with Jeff, who's a Bubbles fan. Hammers fan, sorry, I should say. Forever blowing bubbles. West Ham opposition view show, 7:30 tonight. Back here, back in the same place. Don't change that dial, as they say. I'm getting all these quotes in, aren't I? This will be on YouTube if you've missed it and you want to watch it again. Don't forget you can subscribe to the Leicester Till I Die YouTube channel, Leicester Till I Die TV. The links and everything else you need will be on YouTube underneath here when I post it, which will be about 10 minutes. So thanks a lot, Justin. Thanks for joining us. Come back later. Cheers. Oh, yeah, and I'm just going to say, Mark Gatwood again there. Praise and respect for Barnes, England squad, and the confidence will hopefully slot the finishing in place. Indeed, Mark, but as I made the comment the other day, unfortunately, I still think the haters will hate. Chilwell was England left back, and it didn't stop people hating him. Anyway, that's it for this Europa special. My thanks go to Brad. I will be back at 7:30 with Jeff. Please come and keep me company. It's a lonely stint sometimes if you've got nobody throwing questions at us. He's happy to answer questions as well. 7:30, be here, and I'm talking to Jeff, and that's it. If I don't come back, take care. Here's the Big Foxes win on Sunday. Take care. Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye.